How's it going, everybody? Jim here from Clockwerk Industries. Welcome to another video. This is going to be finally going over why I chose the Tormach 770m and the reason I got it, the reason I chose this mill over all the other options out there, and the benefits from it. Right now, I don't have any negatives just because of what I was using previously. This is such a monumental increase in productivity and capability for cutting these aluminum parts that I really have no downside. And that's one thing I wanted to kind of talk about first. Is a lot of people, when they're buying a Tormach, I feel like they have way overboard, unrealistic expectations of the machine. It's not a Haas, it's not a DMG Mori, it's not a Datron, it's not going to be running 300 inches a minute at 2x diameter depth of cut. But when you're coming from a machine like this, which is a very capable CNC router for doing most things, and I've cut thousands of aluminum cable combs on this machine and upgraded it as I was able to. The grind on a machine like this was monumental compared to what I'm able to do now efficiently, and as it should have been from the beginning. But starting with nothing and building your way up to where you need to be, sometimes you got to grind it out and you got to deal with what you have until you can get off that plateau and get to the next step. And it just takes the hours in front of the machine doing the work. But a lot of people buy the Tormach thinking it's going to be, they go into it without doing this kind of a grind. They go into it seeing a lot of the videos out there, the machine kicking ass and all the materials out there, and it does that. It's just not going to do it at lightning speeds. But that's fine when for me, when I'm coming from a machine where I'm babysitting it the whole time I'm cutting, I'm used to the speeds. It's about the same cutting speed as what I was able to achieve on the router, because the router was able to go faster with shallower cuts. So it kind of evens out a little bit. It is quicker as I'm dialing in the process and getting this fixture system, and that's going to be the next video, is the fixture system and going into why I did that. And it was basically mandatory, because when I first started with the Tormach, I got the babysitting out of the way, but the productivity wasn't there yet. I was still having to set up each tool, set up each coordinate system every time I needed to change materials and switch products, and all that kind of stuff. So I was still getting held back substantially, and the fixture system is how every single high functioning machine shop operates when they're doing production parts. Every single one of them, if they're doing thousands of parts, they're going to have a fixture system doing as many parts as they can at one time, minimizing tool changes, minimizing cycle times, and dialing it in. So I'm finally getting to the point where the fixture system's in place, and I've got it about as optimal as I can get. I think some of the tool paths I can probably shave off some seconds here, but right now the benefit is closing the doors and being able to go over to the computer and start editing a video, start working in Fusion to design the next product, and so on. So the multitasking ability is huge. That's one of the main benefits of this machine for me. I'll just kind of go a quick walk around the machine. The electronics box back here. The great thing about this machine is right out of the box it was plug and play. I mean, very little, compared to what I had to do on the router to get it all set up and running accurately. You basically just have to level the feet and turn the key once you plug it in. You might have to shim some things, if that, but I didn't even have to do that. I mean, it was bang out within a thousandth right out of the gate, so I was super happy about that. That is another factor in why I went with the Tormach instead of trying to maybe upgrade the Grizzly I didn't have time for a project. I needed something that I was going to be able to drop in the garage and start cutting right away. And I really wanted to have the fixture system in place right out of the gate, but the down payment ended up being $1,500 more than I was hoping, so that went all my work holding and kind of setup money. So that was another hole I had to dig out of right when I got it. So breaking an end mill for $30 really hurt as I was getting used to learning the Tormach. And this is like one of the critical things here is with the Tormach, you're setting up these tool holders. You've seen them in other videos. This slides into an R8 collet, and then you put it over here and you set the tool height. So once I set up all my end mills for production, and they're all in the tool library here in the offsets, once I have that, I don't have to set it up again. It's good to go. All I do is when I switch a fixture, I zero off with the tool that I'm using to set the height, and it's golden. So every time I change fixtures, I just zero one time. I never have to zero off the tool heights again after that, unless I break a bit and have to reset it up. But once I type in the software, it's good to go. So that cut down some serious time there, because on the router, every single time you change a tool, you got to zero it off. So not only am I taking tools out in and out with the wrench, I got to set it every single time. And on the router, I was only able to do 3 rows at a time of combs, and depending on the size, that was like 8 pins. I can maybe get 4. If I went too many, it would start losing steps, because the machine, you know, it's running NEMA 23 motors. It's just not, it can do these parts, it can cut aluminum. It's just not designed for high quantity production of, you know, reasonably intricate aluminum parts. And that was another big thing on the Tormach. I was so glad that I recently just figured out a method of clamping down the raw stock to be able to chamfer on there, because I did all those combs by hand. And I'm going to go into another video, one of the next ones coming up, kind of like the evolution of the process of going from starting with an idea on a, you know, DIY machine, and what was involved in bringing it into full-scale production, kind of where I am now. And there's some serious grinding and sacrifice of time and everything else that you got to put into it to make it happen. And I was so, you know, I had a good vision for it, and I was really confident that if things kept going and everything, all the signs were right. But I'm going to go into that in the other video. But one thing here, I don't know if you can see it, this one's not too bad, but 1/8" stock comes in sometimes pretty warped, and that was another thing on the router I could not do. I could not chamfer reliably. It would be so wavy, and one chamfer would just, you know, cut into the comb or the hole, wire hole next to it, and then the next one would barely touch. So it was out of the question. So what I had to do was, like, I drill it all and then chamfer it by hand with the drill, and then I would have to do the backside once I cut it out. Then when I got to the Tormach, I would chamfer by hand, and I would use dowel pins to flip it, and then I would chamfer the backside, flip it back onto the dowel pins, and then cut them out, because it was still too wavy, because I was still using a PVC and Delrin spoil boards before I built the fixture system. And then once I got the fixture system in place, I was able to put a row of, I have edge clamps and then a row of screws down the middle. It flattens the part completely to the fixture, which is flat within about 1/1000 all the way across. And that gives me now a, you know, perfect, pretty close to perfect chamfer. And although they're small, they're a couple thousandths, 5/1000 maybe. But that makes a big difference when the space between your holes is only 15,000. So, you know, the chamfers are almost just a tiny gap, like a piece of paper in between them. So it's reasonably accurate, and the Tormach is nailing it. And, you know, that's the kind of that's one of the main benefits of this machine, is the accuracy. I was blown away. I could just reference it, and then it's good to go for almost a whole day. The NEMA 34 motors hold up. It doesn't skip steps. And then, you know, I come in the next day and I just reference it, and I take it to the center point. That's the other thing, is I'm working off the center of the work area, so 3.75 by 7, because it's a 7 by 14 work area. So all my fixtures, all my products are now the same work coordinate system, so everything will become interchangeable. Another big thing about the Tormach that I went with the 770, it only runs off 120 volt, one AC 15 amp, 120 volt outlet. So it doesn't require that much power. And it's got like a 1.5 horsepower spindle, which is plenty, because my whole thing is I'm not cutting big giant pieces of aluminum. I'm only cutting 3/8 inch bar stock and 1/8 inch bar stock. So I figured it's good. It's more than enough to at least get me started on the critical parts that I needed to do. I wasn't worried about cutting like anything crazy, any hogging into big materials. I knew with the work area, I was doing already 6 by 12 inch sheets. So I figured I make the fixtures 6 by 12, and then the base fixture here is the size of the whole work area. And I use plywood now for flood coolant spoil boards. It's super quick and dirty, and just throw it away. Right now I'm cutting handles for the ATX pin extractors. That's another thing I was able to bring into the shop. No more laser cut pins. I was able to get them done now on the Tormach and cut the handles, so that whole thing is done now in house. But I knew that the Tormach was just above the capabilities of everything I needed to do. It would do it efficiently. I would not have to babysit the parts anymore, and it would allow me to multitask. So now I can set it up to go, and a 20-minute toolpath, that's enough time to get some toolpaths program. Between the whole cycle time, I could get a video edited now. There's so many things I can multitask now that I was missing out on before, of just grinding in front of the machine. When a big order came in, I just had to stand there and grind it out all day long. So no multitasking, no nothing. I had to babysit the whole time. One of the benefits of not having to babysit as well is with the fixture system, I'm able to do the screws for holding it down while the next fixture is cutting. So I put in the fixture for the 24 pins, I start drilling, I chamfer, and then I take the fixture out, I flip the sheet, and then I chamfer the backside. When I take that out to put in the screws, I put in like the 16 pins and start that process with that one. So once I'm done with the screws, the manual labor is finally done, and then I have however long the rest of the operation is, like an hour or so, to do all the drilling and chamfering of both sides of the next fixture. I can spend that time designing new products, editing videos, all the stuff that I needed to be doing in the first place. So it really opened the doors to a lot of new productivity avenues for me to do, and it's going to allow me to really start stepping things up and getting my communication up, and not being so bogged down with emails. So many emails slipped through the cracks that I couldn't even respond to. Conversations about custom stuff was super slow to reply. I would get so caught up in everything I needed to do that it was a brutal grind for quite a while. And now finally, this machine was the key to finally get past that and to allow me to really take things to the next level. So basically the main things about it were the size, the footprint as well. Like it fit. I mean, I'm packed on in here. I don't have much space. And pretty soon I'm gonna probably have to move out of here, but there was no way I was gonna ever get ahead on that machine to the point where I could actually get out of the garage and into a shop or something like that, or add on to the shop or something like that. So the Tormach's footprint and the power capabilities and the plug and play, I mean, it was just the perfect machine for the job, and it's that perfect stepping stone to the next level. And I like it so much, I'm planning to upgrade it to the MX. I'm going to get the BT30 spindle and the servo motors. The next after that is I'm going to be getting a Tormach base for an 1100 with the chip pan, and I'm going to upgrade the CNC router onto that and build an enclosure around it. And I'm going to upgrade it to a BT30 spindle and servo motors as well, so I have all the same tool holders on both my machines. And once I do that, I'm going to be launching the Solaria reservoirs, the next round of those, and a new revision including pumps. And I'm also going to pick maybe the top 2 or 3 cases on the market and start doing kind of basically like a cost-effective manifold form. So they'll all be the same thing, but they'll be a little bit more affordable than a fully custom reservoir or manifold. So that's coming very soon here. But yeah, those are the main things that really let me go with, or my main decision to go with Tormach over all the other options. They're in the United States, they're not far away. Most accessories and things like that are here within a couple of days of purchase. Power consumption, space, and it was just the right amount of work area to do these production parts. I wasn't expecting to be able to do any crazy big projects with it. It's literally just to get these combs running and running non-stop. So now with the new fixture system, I'm going to be at somewhere around, I don't even know, like maybe 80% of the day, just on average, with just things going on and downtime between tool changes or whatever. I should be able to have the machine running 80 to 90% of the day. And that is such a huge, while I'm able to actually work on other things. So I'm going to also start taking custom orders again for manifolds. I'm going to do a video on that, of what data I need from anyone if they need a custom manifold made. I won't be able to take any cases in-house. I won't be able to do any measurements or any concept design work. But if you have a design, a sketch with all the stuff, I'm going to go over it in the next video. But if you have all the data you need, I'll be able to start taking custom reservoir and manifold orders. I'm not going to be able to do any other kind of custom work at this time because I'm trying to streamline everything, make the most of my time that I have right now without getting bogged down or behind. I want to go with anything that I'm comfortable with, I know how to do, and I can do efficiently. That's what I'm going to work on right now and kind of get things on track. It's been such a brutal grind and things have been haywire for so long. I want to just use this time and this not a break, but like the efficiency that I get from the machine, I want to take that and put that productivity to best use. And I want to get back on track with website updates regularly, videos every couple days, that kind of thing. And as soon as I get a workflow, I'm also going to start developing processes and getting them written down. So when the time comes to get somebody on board to help me and run this Tormach all day and switch out the fixtures for me and help me around the shop and things like that, the instructions will be ready to go. I had to write work instructions as an engineer for Parker Hannafin, and I'll be able to have some very easy to understand instructions on how to run these machines. So that's going to be coming up down the road too, because eventually I'm not going to be able to run all the machines by myself. The progress I'm hoping is to get the Cnc Router upgraded next with an enclosure, tool changer, everything. Get the 770 upgraded. I want to finish off the laser and get it all paneled in right and create some storage in there, and then see how things are going with that. And hopefully, if things are going well and the new production parts are taking off, my next step is branching off to start doing small production runs of water blocks. More of like, run of 50 or run of 100. That'll be, I want to do something cool. I want to do something unique with them, and more like a limited edition runs of water blocks with every new series. See how that goes, and then take that from there. If I do decide to do that and everything goes in that direction, I'll probably end up getting another Tormach, because that's about the last machine I can fit in this shop before I got to get out of here and get into somewhere else. So I want to take advantage of the low overhead and everything I can for as long as possible, and maximize this facility or this garage to the best that I can, as long as I can, and then really be prepared when I want to take on all the responsibility of a commercial property and everything that comes along with that. Because even stepping into the industrial machines, all the extra things you got to make sure you have, from power the correct power, transformers, anything like that. Even if I wanted to do it in here, getting like any kind of step-up transformer or phase inverters and everything else. So everything getting up has a lot more financial requirement to go along with it. So I want to make sure everything is in place before I get to that point. If you guys have any questions about the machine or anything like that, I'm gonna have a lot more videos coming out. Some of them will be like this. I'm just gonna throw this one up. I'm just straight talking all the way through. It's like 18 minutes now. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and I'm really happy with it so far. The Tormach has it's exceeded my expectations, because where I was at before for this kind of work is insane. And I'm gonna go over that whole process in a video, and I'm gonna kind of like the evolution of the product, and really try to give you the best explanation I can for the grind that it was to get to this point. But it was all worth it, and I knew it would be. If I didn't think it would be, I wouldn't even have tried it, because it was a lot of work. So I'll leave the rest of that for that video, and I think I'm gonna wrap this one up. If you guys have any questions about the Tormach, or if I didn't, if you wanted something explained more clearly, or any specific features on the Tormach, let me know, and I'll try to get back to you in the comments. Thanks again for the support, guys. I appreciate it more than anything, and thanks for watching the video. Like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed it, and yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.